Now move to the Deputy Director's report for the North Coast District, Ms. Gray.
Yep. Item 7 is the Deputy Director's report for the North Coast District, which includes 6 waivers. In addition, we are reporting out an emergency authorization for 2 culvert replacements, significant road repair activities, water and sewer line repairs, and armored protection of the Hall Road within McCarricker State Park in Mendocino County. The park's infrastructure was damaged as a result of atmospheric river events, causing the water in Lake Cleone to overtop the road. Commission staff worked with state park staff to ensure the protection of park facilities while minimizing the development necessary to abate the hazardous conditions. And this emergency permit will require a follow-up action. Staff is not aware of any opposition to this matter and these matters, and we're asking whether 3 or more commissioners object to this item.
Thank you very much. Are there any speakers?
There are no speakers.
All right. Do 3 or more commissioners object to any item on the DDR report? All right, seeing none, commission concurs. And we will move on to 7.5, the appeal Schneider, Humboldt County.
Absolutely. Item 7.5 is an appeal of a Humboldt County coastal development permit modification to address violations of an underlying local CDP and related unpermitted development on 2 adjacent residentially zoned properties located in the Indianola area just east of the city of Eureka. And the county's, we don't need the PowerPoint presentation yet. The county's approval authorized the demolition and removal of a partially built 21,000 square foot residential structure, driveway, and retaining walls, as well as the removal of 15,000 cubic yards of fill material. The approval also includes the restoration of habitat areas, installation of protective fencing, and the adjustment of lot lines between the 2 subject parcels. Staff is recommending that a substantial issue exists with regard to the implementation of this project. As detailed in the staff report, substantial concerns, questions, and issues have been raised relative to the county-approved project, specifically as it relates to the protection of archaeological and tribal cultural resources and the measures that would be necessary to fully protect environmentally sensitive habitat areas located on the site. As a result, staff is recommending that the appeal raises substantial coastal act and LCP issues, and that the commission take jurisdiction over the CDP application for the proposed project. Staff would also note that correspondence was received and posted for this item from the Wiyot tribe, which supports the staff recommendation to find substantial issue and provides additional suggestions for future de novo consideration. So at this point, the question is whether 3 or more commissioners would like to debate the substantial issue question through a full hearing. And if not, then substantial issue will be found and the de novo portion of the hearing will proceed at a future date. The motion and resolution can be found on page 8 of the staff report. That concludes staff's presentation.
Thank you so much, Ms. Gray. Is there any ex parte on this matter? All right, seeing none, do 3 or more commissioners wish to have a hearing on substantial issue? All right, in that case, substantial issue is found. All right, we'll now move to item 8. And my understanding is that Speaker Pro Tem Jim Wood would like to speak on this item. He is available.
Yes, we have Jim Wood on the line. Give him a second as we're promoting him to panelists.
I think we should probably do the staff presentation first,
Okay,
or are we gonna?
I just
Oh, I see.
didn't want to hold him up, but welcome, Speaker Pro Tem Wood. If it's all right with you and you have time, we could do the staff presentation and then hear from you immediately after.
That would be great. I'd be happy
All
to
right,
hear.
and thank you so much for attending our meeting. All right,
My
so we'll
pleasure.
move
Thank
forward
you.
with the staff presentation at this time, and we'll hear from Speaker Pro Tem Wood.
All right, for item 8A, I'll turn it over to Peter Allen, a program manager in the commission's statewide transportation program.
Good morning, Chair Hart and Commissioners. Item 8 is go on. Okay. Item 8A is an application from Caltrans and the California Department of Technology for a middle mile broadband internet network across the Commission's North Coast District along approximately 156 miles of the state highways in Del Norte, Humboldt, and Mendocino counties. Next slide, please. The project before you today represents a significant portion of California's effort to build a public, open access broadband network across the state using state public highways. You have already seen a few small portions of these projects before, and you will continue to see some more permits throughout the year. But this is our first large district-wide permit, and we thought this would be a good time to take a second to explain the project as well as our unique permitting effort here. The primary purpose of the network is to help bridge the digital divide by providing reliable and affordable fast internet access to all Californians, especially those in underserved communities and more remote rural areas. As you can see here, there are some 10,000 miles of broadband infrastructure that will be developed across the state. Approximately 450 miles are in the coastal zone. Once this project is completed, the Middle Mile network will be the largest open access broadband network in the United States. Construction for the network must start by 2024, and it's already underway in parts of the state, but must be completed by 2026. Next slide, please. The considerable size of the network and the compressed timeline has required extensive collaboration with the CDT and Caltrans and our local coastal governments. I want to highlight a few elements of that coordination here quickly. First, I noted at the onset, this permit covers an entire coastal district spanning multiple counties and local governments. We were able to work with our North Coast local governments to consolidate the CDP application, ensuring one permit covering the entire network rather than multiple single permits that would have extended the permit process over a longer, more expensive time frame. Additionally, to ensure design and construction of the project better protects coastal resources, we developed a set of programmatic guidelines for the project within the coastal zone. You can see the cover page here. And I also note that this commission approved a contract with ESA Consulting to complete a comprehensive survey of coastal act resources along the proposed state network, which has helped Caltrans design and site the project to avoid impacts to coastal resources. And lastly, we've been working extensively in collaboration with CDT and Caltrans over the past year to further refine the design and siting of the specific segments of this project to best avoid impacts to coastal resources. Lastly, I want to acknowledge that this has been a team effort here at the Coastal Commission with extensive work from our district staff and especially our statewide planning unit in carrying forward this very complex and large-scale project. So I will now turn the presentation over to Melba, who will describe the specifics of the network here in the North Coast District. Next slide, please.
Good morning, Commissioners. As Peter noted, the project before you today spans the Commission's entire North Coast District, from Oregon-California border in the north to the Gualala River in the south. As shown here in Del Norte County, the project's conduit path runs roughly 46 miles along Highway 101, of which 23 are within the coastal zone. The project in this area also includes a 1/4 mile segment within the coastal zone along Highway 199. Next slide, please. Within Humboldt County, the conduit pathway runs approximately 49 miles along Highway 101. A segment of the network will also be constructed on the western side of Humboldt Bay along Highway 255, and another roughly 5-mile segment will run along Highway 211 over the Fern Bridge to the town of Ferndale. Next slide, please. In Mendocino County, the conduit path runs approximately 65 miles along Highway 1, beginning north of Fort Bragg and continuing south to Gualala River. Small segments within the coastal zone are also included along Highways 20 and 128. Next slide, please. The majority of the middle mile infrastructure will be installed approximately 4 feet below ground surface, along disturbed outside shoulders of the roadway or within the paved shoulder, and in a few sections underneath the roadway itself. Primarily, the project will install 1 to 3 2-inch wide high-density conduit with fiber optic cable inside. Next slide, please. The network also requires pole vaults roughly every 2,400 feet, and every 5th vault will be a splice vault. Splice vaults act as access points, making it easy for last mile providers to connect to the network. As seen in this slide, all vault boxes will be installed below ground along the roadway shoulder. Next slide, please. The middle mile network also requires hub sites every 50 miles to provide transmission and to reamplify the network signal. We worked extensively with the Caltrans on siting of these hubs and were able to locate most hubs outside the coastal zone. However, 2 of these above-ground structures remain. Hub Site 107, which is the top photo, is located in an urban area at a roundabout along the west side of Highway 1, just south of the Fort Bragg city limits. Hub Site 20 is located in the community of Manchester. As can be seen in this bottom photo, the hub site is located at a disturbed roadside area behind a safety guardrail within Caltrans right-of-way along Highway 1. There are no coastal views here. However, this area is designated as a highly scenic area in the Mendocino County LCP. Next slide, please. Although the broadband conduit will be installed along the highway's edge, there are still potential coastal act concerns, primarily with respect to estuarine wetlands that can exist adjacent to the highway. Caltrans' strategy here is to design the final conduit pathway to avoid impacts to ESHA and wetlands by 1, placing the conduit alongside or under the roadway, and 2, using different construction methods, including horizontal directional drilling, which bores underground, limiting above ground disturbance. Thus, impacts are not anticipated. However, in a project of this size, we want to anticipate the potential for some impacts, and therefore this permit would authorize small dispersed impacts when Caltrans can demonstrate avoidance is infeasible. Any such impacts will be less than 1 acre in total for the entire project and mitigated through payment of an in lieu fee to support habitat restoration efforts in the North Coast. Next slide, please. Lastly, I want to note that we published an addendum on Tuesday with minor edits to a few special conditions. Overall, staff believes this project will provide much needed high-speed internet access to underserved communities within the coastal zone, while as condition protects coastal resources. Thus, staff recommends that the commission approve the consolidated CDP with the special conditions and findings included in the staff report. The motion to approve is found on page 6 of the staff report. This concludes staff's presentation. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much. Great report, great project. I'll turn to the commission and ask if there are any ex partes. All right, seeing none, we'll open the public hearing and return to Speaker Pro Tem Jim Wood, my assembly member. Very, very pleased that you could be here today, Speaker Pro Tem.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. I want to begin by saying thank you. Should it pass today, this decision to provide a single permit for a 156-mile stretch of the middle mile broadband infrastructure gives California's North Coast much to celebrate. The Commission has acted with urgency and efficiency to tackle one of the greatest challenges facing both urban and rural Californians, the digital divide. Broadband has been a major focus of mine since I was elected to the legislature in 2014. I've authored bills and actively engaged with the administration on their Middle Mile Advisory Committee because the constituency I represent has some of the worst access to broadband in the state. When we embarked on the Middle Mile project, we knew we would need the type of efficiency we are seeing here today. Bringing 3 state agencies, 3 counties and 9 local jurisdictions together is no easy feat. Your decision today would demonstrate the Commission's deep commitment to coastal communities. This definitely shows the efficiency potential of the consolidated permit process. I realize the leap in progress we are potentially celebrating here does not happen overnight. Staff across scores of agencies and municipalities came together to address the digital divide on the North Coast, and I want to say I really appreciate that. If we're going to see this middle mile project through, we'll need agencies to continue to think outside their traditional silos, and I appreciate your work to do just that, because we know that ensuring access to broadband goes beyond any single entity. Again, thank you for your work in helping to close the digital divide. This will be transformative for the communities I represent, and I thank you for the opportunity to speak before you today.
Thank you so much, Speaker Pro Tem Wood. We're really grateful for your work on this and for your kind words about our incredible staff. We really appreciate it. All right, so let's move forward with the public hearing. Is there anyone here for the applicant, California Department of Technology?
I guess we have Dotrick Wilson, who signed up as wishing to speak.
Right. If you could just repeat your name, that'd be great.
My name is.
Why don't we give 3 minutes, please, unless you need more? Is 3 minutes sufficient?
Yes.
All
absolutely.
right, terrific. Thank
Uh,
you.
My name is Shannon Martin Guzman, California Department of Technology Middle Mile Broadband Initiative. I just want to thank the commission for hearing our item today, as this is an amazing opportunity for the state of California in getting high-speed, reliable internet access to these unserved communities. And here to address any questions that the commission may have of us today. And just want to thank everybody for the opportunity.
Great, thank you very much. All right, do we have other speakers on this item? Yes? Good morning.
Hi, good morning. Rick Wilson here. I'm with Caltrans North Region Environmental. I just want to take this opportunity to thank Coastal Commission staff, specifically Peter and Melba. Been great to work with. The partnership has been unbelievable, and I look forward to see this project in construction. Again, thank you, and I'm available for any questions.
Thank you very much. Other speakers here or on Zoom?
We have other people that listed as available for questions. We had one person who wished to speak, Connie Stewart from Cal Poly Humboldt, but we're unable to find them in the Zoom list. Connie Stewart, if you're there, please raise your hand. I'm not seeing any raised hands. No more speakers.
All right, thank you very much. Close the public hearing then and bring it back to staff for anything further. And I just want to express my appreciation for the incredible job. This is a very difficult project, as we've heard. And I just want to thank you, Peter and Melba, so much for your work on this. Very much appreciated for those that live on the North Coast.
Can I say a few things just really fast
course,
to wrap
please.
it up? I just
Thanks,
wanted
Director.
to agree and lend my thanks both to our partners at CDT and Caltrans. I mean, it
Yes.
was that partnership and a lot of hard work that went in, thinking through how are we going to approach this really big, challenging project. And we had really great partners to work with. So we're really grateful. Thanks to those for coming today and supporting. And then internally to our team, Peter and Melba are here today. They put in so much work, but also all the folks through statewide planning, our ecology team, the rest of our transportation team. This has been a truly agency-wide effort. So I just want to thank everybody for digging in. It was not always easy. We had to do a lot of thinking about how to be creative in kind of addressing some of the problems. But I think it, as Assembly Speaker Pro Tem Woods pointed out, like it shows that we can do this type of work and do it efficiently to meet, the priorities of the state. So just wanted to thank our team for making it happen and pass it back to you, Madam Chair.
Thanks, Dr. Huckelbridge. And I just want to second everything you just said about this incredible collaboration and what a sign it is. I think our continued collaboration with Caltrans, it has been, he's not here currently, but has been just fantastic. So it's great to have the Department of Technology also involved. And let me return this back to my fellow commissioners for any comments and also for a motion. Vice Chair Escalante.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And as the representative from Del Norte County, I will be happy to make the motion. And I will just say I 100% grateful to everyone for this collaboration. This is very exciting. It is a whole region that's it's hard to reach, and the folks need it. So I just have one question, since I drive up and down that 101 quite a bit now, and it's always trying to fall into the ocean. And gratitude to Caltrans District 1, because I know you guys do an amazing job up there. I mean, I'm a huge fan of what you guys do. It's a miracle. When you're putting these lines on the freeway, next to the freeway, in those spots like Wilson Beach, in those spots are kind of constantly falling in or dipping into, you guys are working on constantly. How are we going to sort of deal with the resilience to sea level rise and some of the storms that we're seeing, some of the damage that we're already seeing on the roads?
Mr. Allen?
Yeah, thank you. We thought a lot about sea level rise and how to address it in a project of this scope and magnitude. There are design options, for instance, hopefully relocating the conduit on the inland side of the highway, which will lessen the risks. We've also evaluated the conduit for flood risk. It's resilient to flooding. In a project of this size, it was kind of hard to, you know, to think about, to directly put the conduit in certain spots or to think about it as from an erosion risk, because ultimately the sea level rise planning and erosion planning will happen for the highway. And that's what's really going to drive that kind of adaptation efforts here. And we have a lot going on with Caltrans right now in terms of sea level rise planning and adaptation planning up down the North Coast. We're really active on that front. So for us, ultimately, the highway is what's going to drive whether there's adaptation and what measures are going to go forward. We did put in a special condition that says the broadband network itself cannot be used as an excuse for shoreline armoring. So that's in there to protect that. And then we'll be working with Caltrans to make sure the conduit is appropriately located on the inland side of the highway when it can be. You know, if there's a conflict between ESHA or something, that could come up, but it's going to be otherwise it'll be on the inland side of the highway in those cases.
Amazing. Thank you. I appreciate that answer and look forward to, celebrating this thing, the North Coast being connected. I'm originally from the South Coast, of course, from LA, but now I can say with pride that the North Coast is the best coast. And I'm ready to make the motion whenever you're.
All right, thank you very much, Vice Chair. A couple other commissioners would like to speak on this. I'll begin with Commissioner Cummings.
Thank you, Chair. And I also just want to express my gratitude for the collaboration. And so I want to thank staff and all the parties involved for being able to really move this forward. I'm fully supportive of the recommendations before us, but I do have a couple questions because what I think a lot of folks who are kind of tapped into communications conversations right now, but for those who may not know, there's been a lot of discussion about AT&T dropping its carrier of last resort at the CPUC, where they would kind of pull out of providing landline services to people in rural areas. And so this is really critical because the sooner we can get broadband kind of accessible to people in these rural areas, it provides another opportunity to move away from some of the more traditional line services. But that being said, I guess one of the questions, because one of the advantages of having landline is that when power goes out, oftentimes those services are still running. And a lot of times now when you have internet in rural communities, there's kind of these backup power systems that are used to help energize these types of communications when power is out. And so I'm just wondering, how is that going to fit in? Because I know sometimes that those backup power systems are specific to different carriers. And so I'm just trying to kind of understand, you have the broadband line in place, and then you're going to have different carriers apparently, and they're going to be responsible for different kind of services, especially emergency services. So I'm wondering if anyone can kind of speak to that a little bit.
Yeah, that may be a question for CDT or Caltrans to speak on that, but I can start a little bit. The middle mile network itself is going to be the publicly owned and managed network. And those hub structures that we really struggled how to cite and design to be, less visually impactful. Those are actually there to provide that resilience to the network in case of emergencies, and they have backup power generation to keep that in. And then the separate networks that we call the last mile networks, which will be connect from the middle mile to the actual town or community. Those will be either done by the local government or a tribe or a private entity. So I don't know if CDT or Dodrick, do you have anything else to add on that?
I think you've largely covered it, so there will be some redundancy.
You need to come forward, sir. Sorry.
Good morning. My name is Alex Baez. I'm with Caltrans District 3, but helping out with the District 1 projects as well. So there will be redundancy built into the network, middle mile network, in case there's a break in one at some point throughout the network, there should be redundant loops to kind of help cover that. So, we are thinking about resiliency and redundancy to make sure that the network is as resilient as possible.
Thanks. And then I guess my next question is, like, how is this being rolled out in other districts? And are there opportunities for other districts to kind of have a similar process? Because I know in my district, we'd really like to have, something like this move forward sooner than later. And so I'm just wondering what opportunities there are so that we can, see other coastal communities have a similar process where there's collaboration and we can kind of move forward more quickly.
Yep, it's coming soon. And the plan that we came up with was to consolidate for every one of our coastal commission districts. And this is the first one of those. Our North Central District, we had to expedite the San Mateo County, so that's broken up, but we'll have the rest of our North Central District probably in May or June. And then the Central Coast District with Santa Cruz will be coming shortly thereafter. So, and then the rest of the Southern California segments will also be coming later in the year.
Great, well, thanks. It makes sense why the Central Coast gets it because they're pretty rural, why they get it first. So, but we'll be looking forward to having those conversations. Just want to thank you all for your work on this and for creating a pathway forward to helping us move broadband forward in a more expeditious manner. So thanks.
Commissioner Uranga?
Thank you, Chair. This is perfectly in line with a resolution that I proposed in Long Beach to expand internet access to my communities there. So very, very happy to support this type of issue. Looking forward to expanding coverage, not only throughout California, but throughout our country. Thank you.
Commissioner Rice?
Yeah, thank you very much. Commissioner Cummins stole my questions, which I anticipated. I anticipated that he would do that, but I also anticipated that this first coming before us now, this issue coming before us now actually was probably the first of several others. I just want to compliment staff and all the agencies involved in pulling together this collaborative path forward for the work and for laying the groundwork for the rest of our coastal areas that are very much in need and being of this broadband service. And this middle mile backbone, yes, of course, is absolutely essential. Last mile is going to be work we need to all support and advocate for in whatever roles we can, because that's actually what will turn it on in the homes. So anyway, really, really important work. I want to also thank the Assembly Pro Tem Wood for your leadership on this issue. Really, thank you so much.
Commissioner Aguirre?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I also want to echo what everybody said so far. Thank you to the Speaker Pro Tem for being here today as well. I just want to add, in Southern California, we also have a huge digital divide that may not be rural, but it's urban based, and it's based on, sociodemographic, matters. So I look forward to seeing this brought down all the way to the border area that I represent. But very much support the project and the collaboration and everything that's been said so far. Just have a very simple, very quick question regarding the hubs. It wasn't clear to me if those were going to be overground or underground.
Those will be above ground.
Above ground?
Those are two hubs in the district, and they'll be above ground. Yes.
Okay. And they wouldn't have any impacts on the, anything besides the road, like visually or a bike path, anything like that?
Well, one of them is along a roundabout in a commercial area across from a gas station. The second one, Hub Site 20 in the town of Manchester, is in a disturbed right-of-way area, but that portion of the highway is designated as a highly scenic area.
Okay.
But we are working with Caltrans. They have preliminary renderings of the hub site, and we're working with them to come up with the best rendering that would have the least visual impact.
Okay, sounds good.
I'll just know real quick, there were originally multiple hubs, many hubs in the coastal zone. And so we worked really diligently to get most of them moved out of the coastal zone, because they were obviously a structure that was going to be above ground. It's the only above ground element of the project. And so we got it down to these two that we also really worked to get in these locations that had the least visual disturbance. And there's no ESHA impacts. We've also thought about flooding and sea level rise and those kind of hazards. So they're resilient. They avoid those type of concerns as well.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Cummings, you have an additional question?
Yeah, just had one comment. I think that, based on the fact that there's the opportunity for in lieu fees to be utilized when there's impacts to sensitive habitats, it'd be good maybe at the end of the project just to get a report out on, the project, how it was executed, how much in lieu fees were paid, and then what those in lieu fees might go towards in terms of restoration efforts, just so that we can be aware of, how impactful it was to sensitive habitats and just how we're going to mitigate those impacts. I mean, it may be very low, which would be great. But then if, fees are generated, I think it's just important that we understand how we can utilize those to restore habitats. That's my only comment on that.
That's a great idea. We're not anticipating to use that in the fee program, but if we do, we definitely will. Well, either way, we'll report back whether we use it or not. And I did want to make a quick comment on there was a couple of points about the last mile network. There is a last mile grant program administered by the state of California, which has a lot of funding. And it is in place, and a couple of our North Coast local governments have already obtained grant funding for that. And so they're waiting for the middle mile to come in so they can build the last mile. So there's a really significant program there with state and a large sum of federal dollars supporting it.
Great, thanks so much. I just want to make a couple of comments because I don't live in the coastal zone, and I sometimes think I live in an area that just somehow has slipped through because we still don't have broadband where I live. And this project is so important because of all of the natural hazards that we've experienced all up and down the North Coast. And I can tell you personally what it feels like when there's fires or other disasters and you can't get on the internet. And it's the truth, as someone said, unfortunately, landline service is basically being removed from our area. And this, for so many folks on the North Coast, I mean, this is life or death. So I just am so grateful to Speaker Pro Tem Wood for everyone that has worked on this, our team at the Coastal Commission, with Caltrans, and with the Department of Technology. I just think this is such an incredibly important project. And on that note, I'll turn to Vice Chair Escalante to make the motion.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move that the commission approve coastal development permit number 1-24-0047 pursuant to the staff recommendation.
Second.
All right, moved by Escalante, second by Rice, and we'll have a roll call vote, please.
Commissioner O'Malley.
Yes.
O'Malley, yes. Commissioner Cummings.
Aye.
Cummings, yes. Commissioner Escalante.
Yes.
Escalante, yes. Commissioner Harmon.
Yes.
Harmon, yes. Commissioner Nada.
Aye.
Nada, yes. Commissioner Rice.
Yes.
Rice, yes. Commissioner Uranga.
Aye.
Uranga, yes. Commissioner Aguirre.
Yes.
Aguirre, yes. Chair Hart.
Yes,
Hart, yes. The vote is unanimous.
thank you so much, and thank you to everyone again. Really appreciate it.